Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com and this is another video where I'm going to be looking at something to do with art. And on this one, this is the first one, but I'm going to be flicking through these sketchbooks over a series of videos, looking at all these little pencil drawings, because it's a really good drawing exercise to practice realistic pencil drawing without having to do a proper full-sized pencil drawing, because trying to do a full-sized pencil drawing sometimes takes so long, and sometimes you just want to do a realistic pencil drawing, but you haven't got much time and you want to be satisfied with a finished drawing. So this is a really good way to practice your drawing skills if you haven't got much time. So these normally take me about an hour, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but normally it's about an hour. And I first found out about this in, I think it was 2015, when I started reading a book by Lee Hammond called How to Draw Lifelike Portraits from Photographs, something like that. And she talks about this technique which she calls segment drawings. And all you got to do is you create a little viewfinder like this. This one is, I think, 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And then all you do is, for instance, this is a drawing, but if you had a photo, all you would do is you would move the viewfinder around until you got something that you thought was quite interesting. Stick it down there, and then, well, before you do that, you would put this viewfinder in your sketchbook, draw a little square so it matches, and then stick that onto the photo, and then just copy what you see. And it's a really good way to practice realistic pencil drawing. So this first one, what I realised was when I first started doing it, I did it in a A5 sketchbook. So, and like when I did that for a while, I thought I actually would rather do this in little sketchbooks. So the future ones will be in little sketchbooks like that, and some of them are actually coloured as well. So I do it with coloured pencils, not just graphite. But another little thing, because this is the first one, what I've started doing, I started doing this quite in about 2015, because what would happen is I'd notice that it would take me sometimes longer to try and find a photo than to actually draw it. So because like I started out by flicking through my magazines and stuff, trying to find something to draw, and then I thought to myself, well, why don't I just spend an hour on the internet finding a load of photos, cut them all up, and then when I want to sit down and do a segment drawing, like I can jump straight into it. So that's what I've done, and I did a little blog post about how to create this template and everything, which I will link to in the description. But that's worked out really good, because the ones with the ticks are the ones I've done. So all I do here is I just pick the one I want, stick that on there, and I then turn it upside down, and like with my sketchbook I just copy it next to it. And whenever I've done this, I've always kept it 1:1 scale, because I find that a bit easier. But you can do this you could create a tiny one and then blow it up, so you could practice scaling. But I've actually been a bit scared to practice my scaling skills. That is something I'm going to have to do in the future. But so if I start by flicking through these, and the reason I got this drawing here is because what I was doing to start with is I was using this little exercise as a way to practice before I did a proper drawing. So what I would do is I'd find an image that I really wanted to draw as a realistic pencil drawing. And I don't do this anymore, but I should probably start doing it. But I should start doing it again, because it's actually really helpful. So let's say, for instance, this is the photo, and I looked at it and thought, because what I was also doing was later on, some of these, I was like, this is Kylie Minogue, it's a portrait of her, and I'd struggle with like doing the hat. So what I would do is I would practice little sections of the photo over here before I did the proper drawing, like before I did the proper rendering. So it's a good way to practice things that are going to be difficult in the finished portrait. But this first one, this is Fang from the video game Final Fantasy. That's just her lips, and then that's her eye. But this paper is really rough. It's like rough sketchbook paper, whereas now I use much smoother paper and it just gives a much better blend. So these ones are a little bit rough and ready, but she's got really nice lips. A lot of these are going to be like taken from photos in the magazine Lost, because I used to love the TV show Lost and I collected all the magazines. So a lot of these are going to be lips and eyes from some of the characters from Lost, because this was back in 2014 when Lost, I think Lost had just finished then. But I really like her lips. And then this is Hurley's eye. I don't draw blokes very much. I like drawing femininity. That's somebody's eyebrows on their eyes. And then that is, I think that's Kate Austen from Lost, Evangeline Lilly. I actually drew that as an A3 portrait drawing. It's my one and only ever A3 portrait drawing. Another nice lips, nice big eye. It's quite hard to do facial hair. I don't do it much at all. I just don't have as much enjoyment in drawing males. Another eye. Like I said, that's Kylie Minogue, because I was struggling with the fabric, so I started practicing it in the little drawing. That's her teeth again, because the teeth are quite hard. So I always practice the things that are going to be hard or that I'm struggling with. But I did that one twice, because it was the hardest bit. I like doing blonde hair. It's hard, but it's fun because you're trying to, sometimes you have to draw it in reverse. It's quite a fascinating thing to do that. That one, you'll see later, I did that one in colour, because I really thought it was quite impactful. So I did that one in colour. That's Sawyer's lips, I think. You can tell. Another lips. Another lips. There's quite a lot of blokes in this one. See, this was in a sketchbook with random sketches everywhere. And I much prefer having things like separated in their own sketchbooks. Another eye. These look really good when you scan them into the computer. Oh, this one's smaller. But when you scan them into the computer and cut them out, so that all you see is the drawing, it looks a lot more impressive, really. Don't know what that is. But something. There's another eye. Another eye. That's Sawyer. I remember doing this. I remember being sat in my old flat. I was actually sat on the floor doing that one. That's weird. I've said it before, it's like sometimes you look at these drawings which are from years ago. These are from like 2013. You look at them from years ago and it's like looking through a photo album. It's got a little tattoo. See, this is another thing, when you're drawing something, you know, because I remember, well, I don't remember, I was lying. But sometimes when you're drawing something, you'll see something that you didn't notice until you started drawing. I love that. I like the fact you can sort of see this squashed face. That's Fernando Alonso, Formula 1 driver. I think there's something wrong with the teeth there. Too defined or something. Kate Austen again. That was probably the time when I was drawing her. I think that's Miranda Kerr. That's Amy Thunderbolt. and then eyes. I know that's Richard from Lost. Another eye. I think I redrew that one later on the other paper, which was better paper. That must have been the first time I did it on there. Because at first, obviously I wasn't always drawing them upside down. But like now, I always draw them upside down. It just makes it more easier to see shapes instead of drawing what you know. And this one is, there's a proper portrait of this. It's Sheryl Crow, but again I was struggling with like drawing her clothing, so I just practiced little bits of it before I did the proper drawing. And most of these turned into proper portraits. That's Claire from Lost. Claire's lips. And last page, another eye. That's Sheryl Crow again. That's somebody from Lost. This was really hard because I remember this one I didn't go dark enough with it. But that's basically it. So this is the first bunch of segment drawings, which I'm probably going to call mini drawings now. But the next one will be like a proper looking at the sketchbooks, which is, that one's going to be pencil. I think these two are coloured pencils, I think. And then this one's my latest one with proper pencils. So that's basically it. It's a really fun exercise, and I'll put some links in the show notes on how to do it and stuff, but I really recommend doing this. And the reason I'm flicking through these is because I just started doing it again. I didn't do it on purpose, but I ended up taking like a 9-month break from doing these sort of things. It wasn't 9 months, it was 21st Feb. May, yeah, it was May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, it was 9 months. So there's 9 months gap between that one and that one, because I just stopped doing realistic pencil drawing. So I got back into it now, and I just thought it'd be quite fun to do a little video about it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you later for another one.